So in this third of the four videos on ALP, we're going to present some data about the program. We're going to present the results. We're going to tell you how ALP uh, um, compares with our traditional developmental course in terms of student success. To do this, we're going to use this chart as our primary vehicle. In the top half of the chart, we'll show you the results for students who took our traditional developmental course, and in the bottom half, students who took the ALP route. The students we're going to look at in this set of data took their developmental courses in fall of '07, spring of '08, or fall of '08. And then we calculated the data as of June of 2010. So for the earliest group, they had 3 years to complete their developmental coursework. And for the fall of '08 group, they had 2 years. For the traditional group, the cohort consisted of 2,070 students. And of those students, 69% ended up passing English 052. It does not mean they passed it in one semester. It may have taken them 2 or 3 tries to pass it, but by June of 2010, 69% of the original cohort had passed English 052. I should mention that the group, we're very careful in labeling these charts. It doesn't say that the 31% failed English 052. What it says is they did not pass. If you teach developmental English as I do, you probably know that most of the students who are not successful don't actually fail the course. They give up. They stop coming to class sometime around Thanksgiving. And that's been our situation here at CCBC as well. Now, the size of the cohort for this was our first 3 semesters of offering ALP, so the cohort size is going to be quite a bit smaller. Includes a total of 104 students, and of that cohort who went the ALP route, you'll see that 82% passed developmental English. And again, not necessarily on the first try, but by June of 2010, 82%. So we've improved our success rate in the developmental course by 13 percentage points, and we were really happy to see that. Now, going back up to the top part of the chart, what you'll see here is that of those 1,428 students who passed English 052, 304 of them gave up at that point, did not continue on and register for English 101, at least not within 3 years. That's 15% of the original total. And the first time we saw data like this, we were really horrified. I mean, these aren't students who failed, and these are students who were successful. They passed the developmental course, and then life happened. They ran out of steam. They ran out of money. They had to work more hours. Something happened, and they never went on to take English 101. Now, you know, I wouldn't be making these videos. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about these results if we didn't improve on that 15% who leaked out of the pipeline at this point. That's the metaphor we use. Because this diagram looks sort of like a pipeline, we started calling it a pipeline. And what basically we came up with the idea that the longer the pipeline through which students have to move in order to pass the credit level course, the more likely it is that they will drop out along the way. In programs that have 2 levels or 3 levels of developmental writing before you get to the credit course, each of those levels increases the opportunity for students to drop out, to leak out of the pipeline. Katie Hearn out at Chabot College in California calls each of these points where they could leak out of the pipeline exit points. And the more layers of English or developmental math or developmental reading that you have, the more exit points and the more students you'll lose. So one of our principles in this program is let's shorten the pipeline so there's less opportunity for this kind of leakage. So of course, the amount of students who are going to pass the developmental course but not take 101 is going to be less than 15%. But how much less would you guess? Would you think we were able to cut that percentage in half? Actually, we cut it all the way to 0. And of course, it's a trick. No students leak out of the pipeline between the developmental and the 101 because they have to register for both of them concurrently. They sign up for them as a pair. And so it has nothing to do with our teaching ability. It's just because of the model we've adopted, we're going to get a 15% improvement in success rates. So there's some of our success right there by shortening the pipeline. But finally, how do they do when they get to English 101? And what you can see here is that 40% of the traditional students within 3 years pass English 101, and almost double that percentage, 75% of the ALP students pass English 101. When we first saw these data, when we first started the program, the first semester, they were so good, they were so much better than we expected, that we thought we must have made a mistake, that we must have calculated the data wrong, and we didn't show anybody until the end of the first year. But in fact, these kinds of results have shown up semester after semester. Now, the data you're looking at in this chart are part of a study that was done of the ALP program by the Community College Research Center at Columbia University. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with CCRC, let me urge you to Google CCRC and visit their website. There's lots and lots of studies that they've conducted of various programs at community colleges, including ours. We're under the Developmental Education tab on their website. Now, CCRC did a very rigorous study. They actually controlled for 11 different variables, much more rigorous than we're able to do internally. And one of the variables they controlled for was they eliminated students from their study, both for the traditional sections and the ALP sections. They eliminated students who had attempted the course earlier and been unsuccessful. And of course, students who've been unsuccessful once are a higher risk to be unsuccessful again. As a result, CCRC's data, as you'll see in just a second, are actually have higher percentages of success than our internal data do. Here's what our internal data look like. For fall of '06, we found that only 27% of the traditional students passed English 101. And for ALP, the percentages, and here's what I want you to see, is just how consistent they are. At one little semester, we dropped below 60%. Other than that, we've been above 60% semester after semester for 7 consecutive semesters. And so now we're no longer afraid to show our data to anybody. It's so consistent that we think we can pretty much count on a pass rate. Again, defining success here as passing the developmental course, taking English 101, and passing English 101. And we seem to be able to do that in the mid-60s semester after semester. But sometimes people ask, well, you know, you talked about all that bonding between the instructor and the small group of 8 students. Maybe because of all of that, not consciously but unconsciously, maybe those ALP instructors actually cut their ALP students a little slack and pass a few of them who really aren't ready to pass English 101, and therefore maybe they don't do so well when they get to English 102. So that was the next question we wanted to know. How do they do when they get to English 102? And so we'll move the chart. This is the same chart you looked at before. We're just going to slide it over to the left. And what you'll find is that, in fact, more than double the percentage of students take English 102 out of the ALP cohort as the 101 cohort. And when they get there, almost 2.5 times as many as a percentage pass English 102. So it's 24% versus 10%. We were really sort of elated when we saw these data, because it means that the pass rates we're seeing in 101 continue into English 102, where the ALP students have a new instructor who has not bonded with them. The instructor in most cases doesn't even know they ever were in the ALP program. A new set of data we've just gotten for the first time this year is longitudinal data. You may have heard that lots of innovations have shown great promise in the learning communities are the most recent example of this, but lots of innovations have shown that they do have a positive impact on student success, student persistence, student retention in the semester that students are in the innovation, and maybe even a somewhat diminished positive effect the next semester. But by 2 semesters out, the effect has completely disappeared, and the students in the innovative group are not performing any better, whether your performance is defined as passing courses or accumulating credits or just persisting. They aren't doing any better 2 semesters out than students who did not have the innovation. So we were eager to see how this ALP innovation affects students under a longer term. And so we look at students after 1 year. We're looking at students, cohorts from the fall of '07 and the fall of '08. at CCBC. And so for students who went the traditional route in fall of '07 or fall of '08, after 1 year, 11% of them had accumulated 15 or more college credits, not developmental credits, college credits. And for the ALP students, the number was more than double. 24% after 1 year had accumulated at least 15 or more credits. And after 2 years, for the traditional students, 12% had accumulated 30 credits or more, and for ALP, 24% had accumulated. So this is the first data that we've seen that shows that the positive effects on retention at the school and on passing courses we don't just see it in the year or in the semester that students are in the ALP, but that positive effect continues for at least up to 2 years while they're at CCBC. And finally, another criticism of some innovations is that they work really well for a small group of students, but they aren't, for a variety of reasons, they aren't capable of being scaled up, of affecting masses of students. We started with a very small program. We ran just 5 sections each semester in 2007, 2008, for a total of 80 students. And you'll see we've doubled the size of the program each year since then, so that this year we actually ran 160 sections and we accommodated 1,280 students. We're up to about a third of all the developmental students at CCBC now, and we're not going to double the program next year, but we're going to go up by about 50% next year to about 240 sections. So the program, it does scale up nicely. We had a few classrooms. It was our biggest bottleneck because we only have 8 students in a class. We use up a lot of classroom space, so we've actually taken to finding smaller rooms. In some cases, we've constructed some smaller rooms in the corner of lobby space in some buildings, and we've actually taken over a couple of conference rooms, and we're using these smaller rooms so that we don't use a room that should hold 30 students for just 8 students. Another way that a program can scale up is to not just continue to exist at one school, but begin to be adopted or at least adapted at other schools. And we're really pleased to say that there are 43 colleges and universities nationwide, here's a list of them, that are now at least piloting a few sections of English, of ALP. Now, none of these 43 schools, actually it's not true, one of them is, but most of them have had to change the program. They're doing some things, maybe a bigger class size, maybe the model Middlesex and Atlantic Cape and Georgia Gwinnett are using where two 101s feed into one developmental class. They've modified the program in some way, but these 43 schools are now offering some form of ALP. And in addition, 2 states, Virginia and Arkansas, have now decided to offer redesign their developmental program to offer ALP statewide in the community college system. So we're really pleased to see, because ALP has had such a positive effect for our students, that it's beginning to spread to a much larger audience. That's the end of this videotape. In the next videotape, we're going to talk about a very practical matter. ALP, with its small class sizes, looks like it might be extravagantly expensive. Please watch the 4th. If you're concerned about cost, please watch the 4th video, where we will demonstrate to you why ALP is actually less expensive per successful student than our traditional program. So take a look at the video number 4.